Shortly before Christmas 2000, a 16-year-old girl in Leeds, England, vanished on her way home from shopping. What began as a missing person case grew into the largest and most resource-intensive murder investigation the area had ever seen. The victim's life was cut short at 16, and the capture of her killer uncovered years of hidden violence. The victim in this case was Leanne Tiernan, born in September 1984 in Leeds, West Yorkshire, England. Her father was Michael Tiernan, and her mother was Sharon Tiernan. Her parents divorced during her childhood, but Leanne remained upbeat and achieved good grades at school. She attended West Leeds High School, where she was popular and had many friends. On November 26, 2000, Leanne had no classes. With Christmas about 1 month away, she met her 15-year-old friend Sarah to shop for Christmas presents in central Leeds. They spent the afternoon in several shopping centers, then took a bus back to Bramley, the residential area northwest of Leeds city centre where both lived. At 4:50 p.m., the bus reached Bramley station. The two girls got off, walked to Hoffley Road, and said goodbye. Leanne had to take a dim path through a wooded wasteland known as Hoffley Gill, a quiet, isolated spot that led directly to her home. When Sarah arrived home, she immediately called Leanne's house to check if her friend was safe. Sharon Tiernan answered and said Leanne had not returned. Sarah was surprised, as their homes were both very close to where they had parted. Sharon grew concerned, at first thinking Leanne might have met friends or stopped somewhere nearby. By 5:20 p.m., 30 minutes after they separated, Leanne still had not come home. She normally called her family if she changed plans, but she did not that day. Sharon dialed Leanne's mobile phone. The call rang briefly and was cut off. When she called again, it rang 4 times and was disconnected again. The unusual behavior deepened the family's fear. At 7 p.m., Sharon Tiernan reported Leanne missing to local police. The investigation officially began. Officers established the area from Hoffley Road, where Leanne was last seen, to her home as the main search zone, focusing on the Hoffley Gill woodland. That night, more than 200 police officers and volunteers searched Hoffley Gill thoroughly, but found nothing linked to Leanne. On November 27th, police tracked her phone and found it had been switched on briefly before being turned off entirely. Messages sent by police went unanswered. Investigators carried out door-to-door inquiries along Leanne's likely route home, checking about 800 houses, garages, and 150 shops within 800 meters of Hoffley Gill. They obtained search warrants for 12 suspicious properties. Another team sifted through local waste. Helicopters and police dogs joined the search, but no critical clues emerged. Police collected DNA samples from 140 men. Several agencies assisted, including West Yorkshire Police, the Environment Agency, British Transport Police, and the National Search Centre, but Leanne's whereabouts remained unknown. On December 3rd, 1 week after Leanne disappeared, a Leeds businessman offered a £10,000 reward for information. Media coverage drew national attention. Members of the public reported seeing a girl matching her description in Doncaster and Blackpool, but police could not confirm the sightings. Leanne's parents spoke to the press, thanked the public, and said they would keep searching, hoping she would return safely. On December 4th, a witness told police that at around 5 p.m. on November 26th, a man had been seen walking a dog near Hoffley Gill. The man was about 173 centimeters tall, stocky, with a round face, flushed skin, and possibly a scar. He wore a black woolen hat, a waterproof jacket, and stained jeans. Police released a facial composite based on the description. The search expanded further, covering about 1,750 buildings, 32 drains, and 3.2 kilometers of pipelines, the largest search operation in West Yorkshire history. Yet the inquiry stalled without key evidence. On August 20th, 2001, 9 months after Leanne went missing, a man named Bisson called police. He had been walking his dog in Linley Wood near Otley and found a human-shaped object wrapped in a duvet. Linley Wood lies on the border of North Yorkshire and West Yorkshire. Officers arrived and uncovered the body of a young woman. The body was wrapped in a floral duvet with a black plastic bag over the head, a leather collar around the neck, and a scarf. It was enclosed in 9 green plastic bags, bound with hemp rope. The neck and wrists were secured with yellow cable ties, and the hands were tied behind the back. Forensic examination confirmed the remains were Leanne Tiernan. The cause of death was suffocation. The body was well preserved. Using decomposition rates and weather records, cryobiology experts concluded that Leanne's body had been stored in cold conditions for nearly 9 months before being dumped at Linley Wood. Leanne was wearing a ponytail, with the same hair tie and clip from the day she disappeared. Forensic tests revealed the hemp rope was specially made in Devon, mostly for rabbit nets, with very little sold to the public. A cluster of red nylon carpet fiber was found on her clothing, with a distinctive dye process. A single male hair, not belonging to Leanne, was recovered from the knot of her scarf. It became the key to identifying her killer. On the same day, police reclassified the case as murder and launched Operation Conifer, a dedicated investigation team. They released details of the deposition site and appealed for information. About 200 DNA samples were taken, and a man named John Taylor came to police attention. John Taylor was born in August 1956 in Leeds. He was 44 in 2000, divorced 4 years before the offense, and lived alone. His home was only 1.2 kilometers from Leanne's house, in the same neighborhood. Police initially took his DNA because a witness saw him near Linley Wood. Neighbors described him as keeping small animals and appearing friendly and reliable. Further investigation showed the leather collar around Leanne's neck was made in Nottingham. The supplier distributed to 220 sellers. The 112th distributor confirmed that John Taylor was the only buyer of that exact collar in Leeds. The yellow cable ties were manufactured in Italy, 99% supplied to Royal Mail. John Taylor worked as a delivery driver for Parcel Force Worldwide, a subsidiary of Royal Mail. Mitochondrial DNA testing confirmed that John Taylor's DNA fully matched the male hair from the scarf. Police traced 2 of Taylor's former girlfriends. Both said he had driven them to the area around Hoffley Gill, where Leanne disappeared. Detectives also learned Taylor had specific fetishes consistent with physical evidence at the scene. On October 16, 2001, police arrested John Taylor with sufficient evidence and sealed his house, garden, and the wasteland behind his property. Inside, officers found 3 large freezers, plus hemp rope, yellow cable ties, and green plastic bags identical to those used in the disposal. All carpets were gone. Taylor claimed he had burned them. Police found leftover carpet fibers on a floor nail, which matched the fibers on Leanne's clothes. Pollen specialists confirmed that pollen from Taylor's garden matched unique pollen found in Leanne's nasal passage, skin, and hair, proving she had been inside his garden alive. Faced with the evidence, John Taylor admitted abducting Leanne. He claimed he had not visited Hoffley Gill for years, met Leanne by chance while walking on the afternoon of November 26th, and abducted her on impulse. He said he tied her hands with a dog lead, covered her head with his jacket, took her to his home on Kirkstall Road, and accidentally killed her during a struggle when she fell off the bed, and he wrapped a scarf around her neck in panic. He said he dumped her body at Linley Wood out of fear, and police rejected his account. They believed Taylor abducted Leanne to commit sexual assault. When the jacket covering her face slipped off and she saw him clearly, he killed her to silence her, using cable ties to strangle her. The long-term cold storage and delayed disposal directly contradicted his claim of dumping the body the same day. On February 15, 2002, the case was heard at Leeds Crown Court. John Taylor pleaded guilty to abduction and was remanded in custody. On July 8, 2002, he pleaded guilty to murder. He was convicted and sentenced to life imprisonment with a minimum term of 25 years. Detective Superintendent Chris Gregg, leading the case, stated that Taylor's method was experienced and suggested he may have committed other offenses. Police reopened unsolved sexual assaults near Hoffley Gill and identified 2 attacks with characteristics matching John Taylor. In October 1988, a 32-year-old woman was assaulted by a masked, knife-wielding man near Hoffley Gill. In March 1989, a 21-year-old woman was assaulted in her home by a masked, knife-wielding man. Preserved evidence from both cases was DNA linked to John Taylor. On February 4, 2003, Taylor admitted the 2 sexual assaults. Police reviewed more than 10 unsolved cases, including 5 murders suspected to involve him. In 2018, The court revised Taylor's sentence to life imprisonment with a whole life order, meaning he will remain in prison for the rest of his life. On September 28, 2001, Leanne Tiernan's family held her funeral. It would have been her 17th birthday. Her life ended at 16. This case serves as a reminder that people traveling alone should strengthen personal safety awareness and avoid unnecessary risks.